We lent my son some money for him to buy a house. He bought the house, the deeds are in his name. He's now moved out and he rents it out. He's now, or we're looking to basically take that back because he still owes us the money for the house. And he doesn't want anything to do with it, he wants to just give us the house. The solicitor is saying, we've got to pay SDLT on it. Do we? Because I don't think we do. If we gifted him that, he's gifting us that back. There's no monetary transaction. We're saying that it's 135, but we lent him 135 and coming back to us.
How much is the property worth today?
Possibly 150. But
and did you give him the entire money to buy the property?
yes.
Is it a cash property, as in no mortgage on it?
Correct.
There's no mortgage on it?
No.
That's fine, he can gift it to you.
That's what I thought. Therefore, zero
That's what,
SDLT.
no SDLT. There's other ways around it as well, but that's made it really easy to answer your question. Right?
Yeah, no, that was my understanding. So if I just go back to my solicitor and say, I want to return zero SDLT, he's obliged to then do that or tell me to find another solicitor.
Tell him to speak to my Shaz.
It's probably the second option, because, okay, so lawyers and solicitors who are two different types of people, by the way.
He's a conveyancer, by the way.
So he's not a solicitor then?
No.
Okay, so he's a lawyer. They're not allowed to give you tax advice. They're not supposed to give you tax advice. So if you're really dull and boring like me, you'll read the 80-page term conditions, and about on page 79, it'll say, we do not offer you tax advice, so therefore you should not speak to a tax advisor. But they insist on filing your SDLT return, which is to do with tax.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of work on SDLT, both for clients and lawyers and solicitors, but they never allow us to file the SDLT. So he or she will insist that they file the SDLT return, and they will insist they'll file it on the figure they think is most appropriate. But you just tell them very simply, there's no consideration, therefore there's no SDLT. He should understand. He should. If he doesn't, find somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, he sent us a thing through as well to get my son to fill in and have declared that it was a gift that we gave him and he's giving the gift back to us. And to me, that was the justification, and obviously that he's not doing it to defraud any creditors or anything.
No, you can do it. There are no creditors, unless obviously he has a business.
Which he doesn't,
Yeah.
and anything,
Yeah.
but that was the point of this, and to me, that was everything needed to say it is just a gift.
And did he live in that property?
He did, yes.
So therefore, even if he sells it to you and it's worth more, there's no capital gains tax to pay.
Because it was a residential.
I wish you were my dad. Even though we're the same age. They're different, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously extended our mortgage, which we don't want to pay some off.
And then once that property is gifted back to you, or gifted to you, you can then refinance anyway. And put it
That's what we want to do, yeah, refinance it so we can have some money back.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose.
So Richard, he's doing that. So our friend over here, and then we'll come to you.
Thank you. Just referring back to your example earlier, with the site we're looking to develop, down one end, we've got a big old hangar of a workshop, which has got a lot of asbestos in it, and we have petrol tanks. Am I not right in thinking, because I sort of used the words land remediation relief. Can we get relief on
When you move into your limited company, yes, or and when you pay to have that cleared, yes, you can.
but not without bringing it in? Okay.
And when you do that, you can't get a discount on the value of the property because it's got contamination of some form. If you get a discount, or the person selling to you has done the work, then you can't claim land remediation.
What do you mean discount?
So let's say I'm buying it from you and I'm saying to you, your property is worth 500 grand, it's going to cost me 50 grand to clear the contamination.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't pay you 500 grand, I'll pay you 450.
Right.
So you either get the work done and sell it to me, or sell it to me for 450.
Okay.
If you sell it to me for 450, because you've given me a discount
Yeah.
to clear the contamination,
Yeah.
I get no additional tax relief.
Okay.
So I have to pay you 500 grand,
Right.
then get it cleared.
Unless you've got rid of
and then I
tax.
get it.
Okay.
Okay. So our friend over there, then we'll come to
It was
you.
just following that.
Okay, go on.
Can that be done retrospectively if there was soil contamination and you had to have the site cleared for that?
As in,
Once the property's been built, obviously it probably wasn't claimed at the time.
you have to claim it within 2 years.
Okay,
Yeah, you can't go back further than 2 years. Yeah?
thanks.
If you're buying a commercial property using your SSAS pension, and
Yeah.
it's commercial and you're going to hold it in your SSAS, can you claim capital allowances on that? And also, if you're doing a loan back to then purchase a property to hold in your limited company, can you claim the capital allowances on that?
Okay, so to answer your first question, does a SAS pay tax? No, so SAS doesn't pay tax. And capital allowances are there to reduce your tax bill, yeah? So therefore, you can't claim capital allowances in a SAS because you can't write them off against any taxable profit because there's no such thing, yeah? So if you're buying a commercial property, which is a good question by the way, in a SAS, no capital allowances because there's no taxable profit. Yeah.
But if you're going down the loan back route, the
Yeah.
limited company is purchasing the property, therefore you can
Yeah.
then...
So you can loan back up to 50%.
Yeah.
Okay. If you do that to a limited company, or your sponsoring company, or the fastest sponsoring company, then that company can claim capital allowances. No problem. Okay. So if you're buying a property which has a significant amount of capital allowances, Oliver, like this hotel, because hotels usually have a higher amount of capital allowances, like 40%, 50%, 60%, it might be sensible not to buy that particular property through a SAS. But if it's got average or standard capital allowances, then just buy the SAS is fine. You can forego that advantage for all the other advantages that you're going to get in terms of not paying tax on the income, rental income, or if you sell it, no capital gains tax, no inheritance tax to the SAS is a trust here. So you've got loads of other benefits which outweigh capital allowances. Okay? Anybody else?
Yeah, just a quick one. If you own a property and you're old and you're going to pass it on, and
Are you talking about me, by the way?
Yeah. Not that old. No, joking. You want to develop the site in some way or add value to it, but you want to avoid the inheritance tax implications. And say you were doing something with a child, and they're going to be the one inheriting it, and they want to do the development, but you don't want to add to the bill. Is there a way for them to do it, or can you think of anything creative around that, or do you want it to be more specific?
You can, but you then need to split the property and give them that share of the property, and then they can obviously carry out the work to it. When you gift them the property, then you've got capital gains tax issues. But if you use the example of our friend over there, if there's some land on its own without planning is worth a lot less than if you're gifting somebody a property and they're going to build upwards.
So you could kind of gift them the roof. You got where I was going, maybe, but
It's going to be complicated.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
And just touch again, because you just mentioned it, on gifting and capital gains tax and the problems with that. So gifting something before you die as opposed to inheritance tax afterwards.
Yeah. So if
7 years.
If you make a gift to somebody, there's capital gains tax consequences. Hence why when I asked John, did your son live in the property? If he did, he doesn't pay any tax because he claims principal residence relief here. If his son didn't live in the property, he'd have to pay capital gains tax on the uplift of the value. So let's say your parents, if they're alive, or if you've got children, and you've got property. If you gift property to your children, you have to pay capital gains tax on the value of the gift. If you then survive 7 years, then there's no inheritance tax to pay on that particular gift. If you don't survive 7 years, then you may potentially pay capital gains tax and inheritance tax.
Ouch, yeah.
Yeah. Especially if you die within the first 3 years. After 3 years, with the tapering, it kind of reduces down to 7 years.
And what would the CGT be on £500,000 of normal property gifted to the...
Basic rate taxpayer, 18%. High rate taxpayer, 28% on residential, on commercial, 10 and 20.
So technically it's more efficient than IHT if you can survive 7 years.
It is, but it's even better to try and include your children, especially if you have a limited company, which is a question asked earlier, to have your children as shareholders at an early-ish stage. So you give them A, B, C shares, they call it alphabet shares. Give them some of those shares, and then the growth and the value of those shares isn't going to be taxable on you because they own the shares. And when you pass away, it's not taxable on the estate because they own the shares. Make sense?
Yes.
So try and get them involved as soon as you can. The challenge you have, which is what most people have, is they want their children to get to a certain age when they're going to be sensible with the money, as opposed to obviously refinancing a property and then spending that money elsewhere. And the other concern people generally speaking have is, well, if they end up getting married and then the marriage doesn't work out, and what happens with all of that stuff. So those are the two kind of main concerns people usually have. Yeah?
You could control the property with a charge over it to stop refinancing in some way.
You can control the charge, but you can't control the divorce situation if that happens. Yeah. So, and again, the bigger the portfolio, the bigger the concern. Yeah. But try and include them as shareholders as early as you can. Peter?
I think there's a problem.
And Holst is trying to indicate to me now where he wants me to go, by the way.
All right.
In case anybody's wondering why he's getting closer.
No, interesting. I'll be quick. So, giving shares to your children is a good idea, but mortgage companies don't seem to like it.
And Richard is going to answer that question for us. Richard, do mortgage companies like giving shares or having a company where shares are owned by children?
You mean a limited company property?
Yeah, that's right. So Peter owns a company.
I've literally never come across it. I don't know how they would look at it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, they don't like it. So if you make them a minority shareholder, so let's say they've got 15% or 20% of the shares, you'll be okay. Alongside that, what you do to give them some comfort, with alphabet shares, so these are A, B, C, D, E class shares, you can limit their voting rights. So they have no voting rights at the AGM or any other point, so they can't stop you doing stuff. Yeah. You can limit their rights if the company is wound up, okay? And then you can limit their rights to a distribution or dividend. So if you limit their rights, mortgage companies, I'm not a finance broker by the way, mortgage companies will be a bit more confident and comfortable because then they know you have most of the control and the power. It's all about control.
So don't they generally look at the directors rather than the shareholders?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, so long as the directors are giving personal guarantees.
Yeah, then you're okay. But if you're not a minority shareholder, and then they look at you as well. But if you own like 10, 15, 18%, then you're okay. They look at the clarity.
What we found is that if you were a shareholder, you had to be on the mortgage. So we did that. We tried to, there's only alphabet shares, but because they were a shareholder, they then had to be on the mortgage. And my wife got a bit upset. She said, "Why have I got to sign now?" So it was easier to remove her. But
The wife and the kids.
I'm assuming that because if they're kids, they can't be because they're under 18. I'm going to assume.
You said remove her.
Yeah. You can sign as their parent.
Extreme. Yeah. So if you make them shareholders, most lenders want them as on the mortgage. We couldn't get around it.
Yes. But if they're minority shareholders, they ask you less questions. And as John has said, and Richard over here, if you give them personal guarantees, which they want anyway nowadays, that minimises their risk. Last question from Julie, I think it was.
Just like John's son living in that house.
That's nice of him, isn't it, by the way, Julie?
Yeah, very nice of him. What's the minimum length of time you need to live in that house to be counted as having lived in that house?
No limit.
What, like a day?
It could be a day.
Yeah.
If he's gifting it to John. So it's the quality of the occupation as opposed to the length of the occupation. Yeah?
Right, yeah.
So if you live in a property and you're on the electoral roll, if you have children, they go to a local school, you use a local doctor, local dentist, they go to the local church, mosque, synagogue, gurdwara, wherever. Okay, you're part of a local charity. That demonstrates you're embedded in the local community. Therefore, Julie, you're more likely to demonstrate that that was your home for the foreseeable future. If you live in a property for a day and then say, "Can I claim PPR?" because I'm selling it and I'm going elsewhere, it's not going to work, generally speaking. So Some accountants might say to you 3 months, some will say to you 6 months. There's no time limit.
Yeah.
But if you're moving into a property for 3 months, 6 months, and you're doing it again and again and again, you'll have a problem.
Yeah.
Do it once in a while, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, by the way, make sure you click like, subscribe and post a comment because that tells me that you're engaging and you're finding the content useful. And if you like this video, make sure you check out this video here because it's the next stage in terms of your learning and development.